Have you ever wondered what happens the moment your heart stops beating? They say we just fade away, but what if we wake up somewhere else? This is Echoes of the Unknown, where the line between life and something greater disappears. First breath. I didn't realize where I was. More precisely, I realized where I wasn't. I wasn't in the usual timeline, not in the yesterday, today, tomorrow we draw so confidently in our minds. All that remained was a feeling of presence without form, thoughts without language, expectation without a target. I tried to say my name, but couldn't. And strangely, I didn't panic, as if a name was just a tag on a suitcase. And the suitcase suddenly turned out to be empty and very light. So I did what we always do. I tried to rebuild the world. Fingers, there they are, moving. Skin senses the coolness. The fingertips feel texture, wood, stone, number. Something we don't have a name for, but it's smooth like water and warm like breath. I look up and realize I'm not in bed. I'm lying in a room that feels like me. Sounds strange, I know, but it's true. The walls seem made of my own memories. There, sunlight from childhood mornings slipping through old curtains. And there, the shadow of a bookshelf I never had, but that makes me want to read slowly. On the floor, the light before a thunderstorm. On the ceiling, branch patterns from trees that aren't there. I take a breath, but I don't hear myself breathing. Instead, I hear an echo, not a sound, but an emotional echo. Traces of feelings, lived and unlived, of futures not yet born. Then the thought hits me. If death is a door, then this is the hallway, and the hallway is not a place, but a state. Between. I stand up. My feet are steady on the floor, whatever you'd call this floor that has no name. To the left, a passage. To the right, another. Straight ahead, a third. They look the same, but one calls softly, one demand, one is silent. I go where it's silent. Sometimes silence is more honest than all the voices. The first steps come easily. It smells like rain that hasn't happened yet. Far away, I hear a child's laughter, maybe my own, swallowed by time. Memory behaves like the sea at night. Smooth at first glance until you really look and realize there are 1,000 hidden waves. On the walls, images begin to appear, but they're not paintings, they're moments. I recognize them. A hand I didn't take, a word I didn't say, a city I never visited, a letter I never sent. I see myself in each frame, sometimes braver than I was, sometimes more honest, more kind, sometimes harsher but more precise. And I realize these aren't alternate lives. They're echoes of choices I could have made but didn't. Not out of fear, sometimes just because I rushed. Then a door appears. It doesn't fit the logic of this place, but it belongs, like a hand in a handshake. It has no handle, only a thin line of light around the frame. I touch it, and the light trembles, like someone inside just realized I'm here. I open it. Inside, a room with no corners, nowhere to hide. And there I meet him or me. We look at each other like reflections, but without the silver of a mirror. No symmetry, no romantic self-image, just a meeting of two gazes with nowhere left to run. You came, he says in my voice, but calmer. Did I have a choice? I ask without irony. You always did, he replies, but you chose to come. He sits down. I sit beside him. No noise, no music, only conversation, like rain inside a place where rain doesn't fall. What is this place? I ask. You call it after, he says, but it's really between. Between what? Between who you were and who you could become. Between echo and silence, he smiles, not at me, but at my attempt to understand. Did you live honestly? He asks. I try to remember, and I realize honestly always felt more like a costume than skin. In places, I say. I loved deeply in places. I stayed silent in places, and with yourself. He tilts his head. With myself, it was hardest. That, He nods. Is the reason. I don't ask. Reason for what? The answer is clear. In life we rarely see ourselves without excuses. Here, excuses don't work. They sound like commercials in the middle of a song. You can skip them, but then, why did you play it at all? All right, I say. What comes next? Next, choice, he says. You can stay here and learn to hear the silence your decisions are born from, or you can return to the shore you came from, or to the life that wanted to enter you, but you never opened the door. His words hang in the air and don't fall, as if gravity works differently here. I close my eyes and let a constellation of memories rise, not in order, but as a pattern, not a plot, but a design, and I see it clearly. Fear walked with me always, dressed up as caution, and I realize I never truly lived. I tuned myself, like an instrument that never played a real melody, only warm-ups, only mic tests. Can I ask a stupid question, I say. Here, he replies, they're the most accurate. Did I actually die? You stopped insisting that you were alive, he answers. I laugh, and the laugh echoes through several corners of the room, as if many versions of me got the joke, each in their own way. If I return, I ask, will I remember this? Memory is a weak form of knowing, he says. Take not the images, but the state. It needs no memory to act. The state of what? Presence and honesty with yourself. That's what you avoided. That was your invisible death in life. We go quiet. I listen. At first, nothing. Then, a soft rustling. Not quite sound. More like the sound grass would make if growing had a sound. I listen and realize I hear my thoughts before they become words. They rise as intentions, as faint lines of motion I usually bury beneath habit. You hear it, he asks. That's the silence from which success or failure is born. There's no punishment here, only consequences, and freedom to choose them. I open my eyes, and for the first time notice that the room without corners has a window, but it doesn't open outward, it opens inward, and through it I see not a landscape, but a possibility, not an image, but a direction, like a ship in dry dock, yet I can taste the salt air on my lips. What should I do, I ask. Give me instructions that I can follow. He smiles and fades away. Only a voice remains. Instructions are crutches. Once you step out, you'll throw them away. Just remember a few things. I listen. 1. Your life is not a line. It is a depth. Stop measuring it with rulers. 2. Don't pretend time is endless. You only have the time where you are present. 3. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. If you're afraid, there's something important there. 4. Choose people around whom your silence becomes clearer and your words more precise. And 5. When you catch yourself hiding behind later, return to the silence. Even just for a minute, it's always nearby. It's the door without a handle. It opens from within. The voice fades. I'm alone, and yet not alone, because now beside me is a presence that needs no proof. I step toward the inward-facing window and walk through it like water. No splash, no fear, no regret, only a step that happens by itself. The world I return to seems ordinary. Morning smells like coffee. Leaves tremble in the wind. People rush and invent reasons why the rush is necessity, not habit. But there's one difference. Now, every yes and every no inside me rings clear, and I'm no longer willing to say later when I feel now. I walk down the street and suddenly realize death didn't take my life. It woke me up. A paradox. But all important things are paradoxes. I smile at strangers, and they smile back, because they too are looking for their own door without a handle. And I want to say to each of them, don't fear the silence. It's not emptiness, it's your power. And if one day you wake up not where you expected, don't panic. Maybe that's where you were meant to be all along. Now a question to you, the one listening to this story. If today were your between, what would you take with you into the after? What words, what look, What silence? Who would you call? Who would you forgive? Another person or yourself? And what would you do first? If you found yourself in the room without corners where windows open inward, do it today. No big promises, no drama, no audience. Just take one small step toward the place you've been afraid to look, not for the world, for yourself. And if one night you hear a faint rustling inside, don't be afraid. That's the sound of your new life, growing. Fear the end because we don't understand. It's only another form of beginning. Every day we die in the versions of ourselves that no longer fit and awaken anew. Here in Echoes of the Unknown, we listen to what exists beyond the edge of the ordinary. Don't forget to subscribe and take the next step between and beyond.